Hi guys, this is Lashette from Scarlet Moon Creations, and I'm back with a new video. This is my November wrap-up video where I talk about the books I read in the second half of the month of November 2021. So we are going to switch outfits. Because first I'm going to talk about my stats. I don't know why, I just want to share this. But yeah, so this is my hair for today. But I was going to like braid it up or twist it up, but like I did yesterday. But I'm not feeling very good, or I wasn't feeling very good this morning. So this is what you get. And it looks fine. FYI, again, not that anyone thinks this, but my hair, there's not like dirt or random specks in my hair. These are gray hairs. Sometimes you'll see like spots where it like concentrates so it looks like I've got something caught in my head, but no, this is me au natural. Anyway, you didn't need to know that. Let's talk about this stat. Hey, this is Outfit Change Lashette with my reading stats. So in the month of November, I read a total of 10 books. Don't get too excited. Not that that's a bad thing, but a lot of them were manga or graphic novels or comics. So anyway, total pages read 2,424. The average rating was 3.95. So good things from 10 books. And no books acquired. I did read 3 owned voices books, and all of them were library books, so I was doing my thing. For the genres, I read 3 slice of life books, 1 epic or high fantasy book, 1 dark romance, 1 retelling or more like a reimagining, that was Desperate Measures, 2 urban fantasies, 1 paranormal romance, and 1 superhero fantasy. For the formats, I read 5 ebooks and 5 physical books. The form those came in 4 novels, 1 comic book, 3 manga, 1 graphic novel, and 1 short story. Now, on to the audience. I read 6 adult books and 4 young adult books. Now the identity section. For the gender identity, I read 1 book with a genderqueer character and 9 cisgender books. For racial identity, I read 4 books with Asian main characters, 2 books with mixed main characters, and 4 books with white main characters. For the sexual identity, I read 1 book with a female-female romance, and 1 book with a bisexual main character. 2 books with pansexual main characters. So technically, I guess I should put those under queer because it was not specifically stated. You let me know, because I'm thinking about those 2 books now and I'm like, it definitely wasn't, but it clearly happened. Do non-human races count under pansexual when we're talking about that? I don't know that either. So, authors. I read 6 books with new to me authors, and I enjoyed all of them. Some more than others, but definitely enjoyed all of them. and 4 books with not new to be authors. The types of books I read, 9 books from series and 1 book that was a reread. And last but not least, my ratings. I read 3 5-star books. 3, that's like 1 book 4.5 stars, 2 books that were 4 stars, 2 books that were 3.5 stars, 1 book that was 3 stars, and 1 book that was 2 stars, unfortunately. So, pretty good reading month. Alright, so the next book I finished in the month of November was I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. This is by Yuro Sumino. It is a manga or light novel. This is, I found out in the midst of reading it or after finishing it, I forget which, but definitely not before I picked it up, that this was very popular. It's probably still popular. Several years ago in Japan, it was first a web novel and then it was made into a light novel, like a published book, and then a manga, and after that a live action drama, and to be followed by a anime. And now I want to watch both because it was a good story. I really enjoyed this. So I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, or Let Me Eat Your Pancreas. Kimi no Suzu wo Tabate. Probably butchered that. It's been a while since I've been reading manga, so pronouncing Japanese words is a habit I need to get back into. But anyway, so I read the ebook version through my library, and it was, I wasn't this is what you would call hard-hitting or emotional. The films are called dramas because of that. This is like a here in the US it's YA. In Japan, particularly as a manga or light novel, it's called it falls into the category or age group seinen, and that is it's marketed towards boys, late teens to adulthood. So like 18 to 40 is apparently the age group. I didn't realize it was that huge. But so there's mature content in it, and you'll understand why in a second. This is about this is a first person story. It's about a young boy in high school who finds the diary of one of his classmates, and not realizing that's what it was, he opened it to read it and found out that she is dying. She has a terminal illness, pancreas, something with her pancreas. I don't think it's explicitly stated, at least not in the book that I read, that it's pancreatic cancer, but yeah. So the girl, Sakura, she sees him reading her diary and decides that she wants to be friends with him, because he is now the only person at school who knows that she has a terminal illness. And they were not friends before. The boy is very much introverted. He's not friends with anyone really. He just kind of goes through his life not really engaging with people outside of his parents, it seems. So he's a little bit lonely, and this is all from his perspective. They have no real connection beyond being classmates and library monitors together, basically, but Sakura kind of pulls him into the world, I guess. And this was a beautiful story. Like, look, I don't know why I'm doing this with my hands, but this was a beautiful story. It was cute. It was funny. Sakura is more outgoing than he is, and we don't know his name. That's why I'm not saying it, because we don't. Throughout the story, which is something I liked, I thought it was a cute thing that they did, was, again, this is in first person, but whenever anyone refers to him in the story, in the speech bubble, you'll see like their adjectives for him. So like the quiet boy, Klune, that kind of thing. How they think of him in that moment. Sakura has a best friend who is very suspicious of her now hanging out with this boy, this loner boy. So she has some choice words for how she describes him angrily. But I'm so glad I read this. This was very good. I read, this is one of the slice of life mangas that I picked up. I saw on the list that my library had made. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that she dies because she has a terminal illness, but I wasn't expecting it. Read and find out why. It's a total shock. Like, you see him go from I don't really care, like it doesn't bother me that you have a terminal illness, to very much caring, and you go on that journey, that emotional journey with him, and then bam. So and then the thing with the end is, oh, it really is gut-wrenching, and it hurts. I'm still thinking about it, but yeah, trigger warnings for death. I'll leave it at that. Death and terminal illness. She does make jokes about her terminal illness, so be warned about that as well. I gave it 5 stars. I wasn't expecting that. But and listen. The next book I finished in the month of November was Allegiance of Honor by Nalini Singh. This is book 15 in the psy-changeling series. Technically the last book in this series by Nalini Singh. The world and the characters continue, but the next book is called starts the beginning of the psy-changeling Trinity series. And that is because this book is literally like a crossroads. The way the world has been before this book has radically changed. It took me a long time to read this because of the formatting and the fact that there's so many characters that we're checking in with here. And as if you've been watching my videos, you've realized, as I have, that I don't love it when we get too many characters. Once we get into like the 15-20 range, and I just start to lose track. And like, I love the whole found family aspect and having multiple people and being able to go back and check in with them and whatnot. It's just, I've learned that I can't focus as much. So it took me a while to read this book, a lot longer than it should have. But putting that aside, the psy-changeling series as a whole, let's see. We're set in a futuristic Earth that is still different. This is overall an urban fantasy series, I would say, with heavy paranormal romance elements. Each book we follow a different couple, for the most part, except for this one. They're living in a world and on an Earth where in addition to human beings, there are the psy and the changeling races. The changelings are shifters, basically. If you read other paranormal romance, like those kind of things, they have they can shift into two different bodies, a human-like body and an animal of some kind, like wolves or leopards or birds or sea creatures, that kind of thing. And even in their human bodies, they have an increased strength, usually considered to be very or highly emotional, very instinctive beings. Those, depending on the type of animal, they live in packs, and they own pieces of land here in the United States and in other parts of the world. The Psy are the most unique race that I've come across in paranormal fiction, and which really like cemented this series for me from the beginning. They are, again, they look very humanoid, but their abilities are mental. They have psychic abilities, basically, and it's a natural occurrence in them. And so abilities like telekinesis, but things like premonitions, etc., etc. The Psy, all of their abilities come from the mind, and 100 years in the past, from the beginning of this story, the Psy decided to, as a race, go into silence because they were concerned with how many of their people were turning into serial killers. So the Psy, as a whole, decided that they would get rid of all emotion, and that's what they did for the next 100 years. They did not raise their children with any kind of emotion. They were all what's called in silence. It's a very cold way of living. But things are changing. All of these three races, including humans, live on the planet Earth in this uneasy truce, not interacting more than necessary, and often killing each other. So in this book, we visit like all the couples. It's a lot. There's also letters in between with Father Xavier. So I guess we do get the 15th couple here, but Xavier and his Nina are not the main focus. They're kind of like in the background a bit, as you know, we're catching up with everyone and seeing how they're doing and what they're thinking and how they're interacting. I gave this 3.5 stars, just because I wasn't really focusing. Like, we kept switching people and I kept losing interest once we switched. The next book I finished was an ebook. Honestly, I kept putting it off, and I keep thinking about the full-length novels in this series rather than the ebook. Though this is book 2.5 in the Green Creek series by T.J. Klune, Lovesong. This is available for free on his website, so that's where I read it. The Green Creek series I started this year. The first book was Wolfsong, and we're following Ox, who is a young guy whose father just abandoned him and his mother in northwestern United States. They're poor, so Ox is still a kid, and he goes to work in the local car repair shop, where the owner and the guys who work there take pity on him and hire him so that he can help his mom keep their house and pay their bills, put food on the table, that kind of thing. And in this town called Green Creek, there's Ox, who by his dad was told that he's kind of slow and he probably will never get anywhere in his life. And down the road, there's this empty house, or mansion, maybe. Until one day, the family that owns that mansion moves back in. and their youngest son kind of imprints on Ox, and though Ox has no idea what that's about, things begin. So the first book is like very much a coming of age for Ox and the other boy, but learning who they are, learning each other and their town and the people around them, because there are secrets. I don't know if this counts as urban fantasy because it's not in an urban place. You guys tell me. But yeah, the first half of the book is, you know, that coming of age kind of thing. And then the second half, the action starts and it gets brutal and violent and gut-wrenchingly painful. After that, there's a lot going on outside of the town of Green Creek, which is a small town, and it comes to Green Creek, unfortunately. And this novella, we follow Joe's mother, and this Joe being the kid who imprinted on Oxford. She is, I feel, kind of like a tertiary character in the series so far. The kind of matriarch of everything going on. But a very lovable character, and we get basically everything that's happened so far in the first two books from her point of view. It's kind of, the way it's written is kind of half prose, half poetry. It seems very poetic, in my opinion. It's very beautifully written. A lot of it is very much from her point of view emotionally, which I also liked. And it was short, which is good, because I was worried that book 2 would be like this, but from yet another character's point of view, and I was just like, oh. So this was nice, and I'm glad I read it, because now I can move on to the next book. I gave it 3 stars. To be perfectly honest, I liked it. It wasn't amazing, oh my god, but it was good for what it was, and short. So the next book I finished in the month of November was Archangel's Light by Nalini Singh. Yes, a second Nalini Singh book. This was a recent release, one of my 2021 anticipated releases. You can watch my second 2021 anticipated releases video to hear about it. This is Ilium and Aoden's book. I might be mispronouncing Aoden's name, but that's what we're going with for now. Let me tell you. Okay, this is book 14 in the Guild Hunter series. This series, in the beginning, like the first 5 or so books, we're following Elena, who is a Guild Hunter. It comes to her naturally. It's in her blood to be a Guild Hunter. In this world, on planet Earth, there are vampires and angels, specifically archangels, who are the top of the totem pole, the pyramid, the most dangerous and powerful beings on the planet, and therefore they rule. They have parceled up the planet and rule those areas. So there's a thing about angels that is secret, but they make vampires. How? Well, you have to read the series to find out. But human beings who would like to be vampires can apply, and there is a test that angels have them take, and if they pass it, they have a contract that says you are, as a new vampire, bound to said angel and or archangel for 100 years of your life. However, many new vampires, they decide they want to try and skip out on their contracts, and that's where the guild hunters come into play. So we're following Elena, who is like the best guild hunter in the US, and for that very reason, the Archangel of New York, or really the US, North America, Raphael, hires her for a special hunting job. And over the course of things, they fall in love, because this is still like a paranormal romance series. Right under Raphael directly are his seven guys who work for him. They're his friends, basically. It's a mix of vampires and angels, and the youngest two angels are Ilium and Eowyn. Now, we've met Ilium from the very beginning. He's the most modern of all of the seven and Raphael. And, you know, he's like a cool, good-looking, fun-loving guy. And he's the first one to accept Elena and, you know, have her back and all of that kind of thing. And his best friend is Eowyn, but Eowyn is a little bit different. He seems like the opposite, but they've been best friends since very young. And they've been going through some things recently. And to be quite honest, I know many of us weren't sure if they would get a book, if that is what Nalini Singh was going towards, like them having a romantic relationship with each other. Ilium in previous books has been with women and men. And to be perfectly honest, like if they just had this friendship, just keep going, that would have been fine too, because it's very well written. There was a note or a comment from Nalini saying this is only the first half of Ilium and Eowyn's story, so I take that to mean we're getting a book too, because oh my god, I love this. I gave it 5 stars. Like, what? I'm over here like gushing all over the place. The two of them I loved. I wasn't sure how this was gonna go. Like, before this point, they're kind of like fighting or whatever. There's obviously a shift in their relationship. Like I said, even if they stayed friends, like, you know, you're not the same people you were as little kids or as teens or whatever. And these are long-lived beings, so it's been like hundreds of years already for them. And seeing how their relationship changes over the course of that time, and then they both had some traumatic experiences, and that has really changed them, and the recovery is also something that we touch on. The book, the way it's organized is we have roughly half of it is flashbacks to them growing up in various situations. So we find out about more detail about why Ilium lost his wings, or what happened to Eowyn, and specifics, and the situation with Ilium's father and his mother, and that kind of thing. And those are every other chapter interspersed between the present timeline, where we're seeing Eowyn in China, and Ilium is sent to like help him and help the Archangel of China, and seeing how the rest of the seven like really have their backs and have each other's backs. That found family is so lovable. I love them so much. So yeah, I gave this 5 stars. And that is probably the last anticipated release of 2021 I will get to. There's only one other that just came out, but my library doesn't have a physical copy. They only have an audio copy. and I'm trying to figure out what that's about. But yeah, the last book I finished in the month of November was a comic book, Shuri #6. This is a comic series that I got through the Marvel app that I have on my phone a while ago, and I had it in my head to finish it this year, but I haven't been reading it often enough. But I said, you know what, just read another one, Lashette. Let's not drag this out forever, because it's literally comic book. These are individual issues, not volumes, which usually have 4 to 5 or more issues in them. So this is a superhero fantasy. This and the next issue are not by Nalini Okorafor, which is why I hadn't picked up the whole series. This is by Vita Ayala, artwork by Kirby Fagan and Paul Davidson. I'm gonna tell you right now, I did not enjoy this as much as the previous issues. As you can see from the cover, we have another like team up. For whatever reason, Shuri goes to New York City, Brooklyn, to be specific. Before I get into that, this series, what happens is T'Challa and mankind go on a trip through a wormhole. The plan is Shuri had outfitted their spaceship so that she can keep track of them and keep in contact with them even on the other side of the wormhole. However, that does not happen. Now they don't know where T'Challa is and if he's okay, how he's gonna come back, and the people of Wakanda were not aware of this trip or anything like that, so everyone's kind of in the dark except for those in the know, the ruling family and their immediate staff and whatnot. So T'Challa is gone and Shuri is asked to basically step into his footsteps. T'Challa being Black Panther. Now, Shuri has done this before and it did not go well, so she is really trying to avoid that and also trying to figure out what went wrong with her technology and try to get her brother back. On top of this, she does have pressure from her mom to step up to be the Black Panther. There is a little bit of political pressure from a Wakandan council for her to step up as well. There's a spiritual element, and somehow some innocent people get sucked into the situation as well. So let me talk about basically what I didn't like here. I didn't give this a score. I think I'll give it a 2. This is basically, every, rating I give is personal. But this is really subjective. I don't like the new art style. It's too, when the panels are pulled back, as if they were a camera, we're further away so we can see a broader picture. The characters all look too drawn out, like they've been stretched, and I've never liked that. Never liked that. There are degrees. They don't look like Betty Spaghetti or One Piece, which I absolutely abhor the art for. Even in the anime, I cannot stand it. But they're not that bad, but it's bad enough. But when we do a close-ups, particularly of Shuri, there's so much detail. But now she looks older. She's supposed to be a teenager or early 20s at most. She looked like 45 every time they did a close-up of her. And on top of that, something just fell. On top of that, the tone has changed for the writing style. Shuri has an attitude, it seems like, and I kind of get it. No, I kind of feel like it fits, but also doesn't. Like, she has an attitude with Spider-Man in this. You see him on the cover, so you know he's there. This is the Miles Morales Spider-Man, FYI. And this situation feels so contrived. On top of all of that, I just don't like when this happens. Like, you have a story and you're just plopping three new people in the middle of it to finish it. Like, a plot line has been created. Why is she in New York? Why? Anyway. Like, you know, Shuri could do whatever she wants, but I'm not looking forward to the next issue, but for the one after that, I am. So, that's the last book I finished in the month of November. Let me know what you think of any of these books, if you've read them. What books did you read in the month of November, and what did your reading go? Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you are new. Hit the notification bell so you know when my next videos are coming out. And I'll see you guys in the next one.